tinfoil hat, all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mackie.
Thanks, Nighthawk. Guess what? I'm Dave.
And I am Mackie.
That's the truth right there. And we are Shiny Side Out. And we're coming to you on WZZR from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's the website name. That's where you type in revolution.radio. And it is home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations in the chat room where I am now. I'm sure Mackie will be there any jiffy, any tick of the clock.
Jiffy.
And the website's also a tremendous place to get your merchandise. Mackie, believe it or not, besides it being Christmas Eve in Australia already, this is show number 615.
5, 10, and 600. That's a lot of shows yet again.
It is a lot of shows to catch online, on air, and anywhere using your smart device. So grab an app to listen. There's a whole bunch of different things you can find to listen through. If you're catching this on YouTube for the first time, do like, subscribe, and share. Do all that stuff. Do tell people about it. Be the smartest person in the room on a subject. And certainly more so for the second hour instead of the first hour. If you're new to us, the first hour is news or current affairs or ideas that don't, they're not the second hour show topic. And you know what, Mackie? Solaris again had once again a fantastic show, as she does always. Is there any doubt? No.
Not in my mind.
None here either. Yes. So she had Niche, and I think they were just talking about general things all over, and it was great. I did listen to them. I think maybe 80%, 90% of the show. Loved it. So we've got a conversation, and we're carrying on that same kind of conversation. And there was at one point, Mackie, they were talking about, between the two of them, they like calamari. One's kind of stepped away from a little. But I'm a lover of salt and pepper squid. So wherever I go anywhere, that's my first ask on the menu. When I scan the menu for salt and pepper squid. And when I don't find it, my second, I'm so predictable. My second one is either a chicken parmigiana, which is a crumbed fillet of chicken, usually butterflied and rolled, and it's rather large, with some, say, tomato paste like you'd put on a pizza, and then a slice of ham, and then cheese, and then the fillet itself is fried, nom nom nom, and then the whole thing is grilled to melt that cheese on it, and it's served either with potatoes or chips or vegetables or salad. Oh, now they don't have that. I don't even know what I'm doing there, to be honest. Because if I go to Yum Cha, salt and pepper squid, done, easy. With the cut up chilies and a huge pile. It's like a Christmas tree of salt and pepper squid. Oh,
it's a Christmas tree of salty, heart-stopping goodness.
Oh yeah, you got to have like shards of salt, right?
Oh, yeah.
On it.
You got to see the salt. I can see the flavor here, baby. Oh yeah.
And you know what? If you take all the salt away, it doesn't taste like anything. Okay, so you try and eat unsalted crisps like chips, and say, what am I doing? You question your entire life when you don't have any salt. And we've got a friend of the show who was on a salt restricted diet, and there was no pleasure in food at all. None. And the greatest thing, because I just had a long experience with my father being in hospital. He's now released from hospital, thank heavens. And his complaint was the food at the hospital was terrible. My daughter spent 2 years in hospital, pretty much on and off, and she complained that the food was truly awful. However, my dad was at like a private hospital who had really nice food, to be honest with you. I would have eaten it, right? But still, the complaint: you're in hospital, and the only reason they give you terrible food, not because of the manufacturing or how they produce it, mass produce it. It's if you're sick enough to eat it, they worry. Yeah, it's a joke. But if you're well enough to know that it's discerning that it's awful food, you're probably okay to go home. So that's the level and the measure that I use to describe hospital food. But my friend who was in there right before I finished the intro, my friend who was in there, he described the soup he was given as the water that was used to boil the peas and the beans that had no flavour. It was just ladled into a bowl and he was served that.
Ah, that's some good soup.
It had some green, right, that was leached off the vegetables as they were overboiled, but that was pretty much all there was. So yeah, look, I feel for you, buddy. Okay, so if you don't know who Solaris is, and who I've just mentioned, you know, the archives are free, so you can jump in and you can listen to her shows, you can listen to our shows. They're all in MP3 format, the date stamped from the automatic server that produces them, and there you go. You can download and binge your favorite host, which I'm suggesting you do, within reason and health regulations. I'm sure the UN and the WHO across the planet would agree that do that safely. And because of that ability to get them for free, what you can do is you can go to someone else's show, find another show name, and go in there and grab some, you know, recent shows and say, oh, I wonder if I like that. Because you might. You might. Because, remember, this is listener funded, and so you can become a Patreon. They've actually got QR codes now, Mackie, on the homepage. You can just, you know, scan it with your phone, because most people have phones with that technology, and you can scan it. You can go to a Patreon page, or you can go to just a straight up donation, which is really cool. You can do that, and if you aren't capable of doing it because your situation doesn't support that, why don't you tell other people about the station? Let's expand the listenership of the station and make it the powerhouse I know it was, and I don't know where we're at the moment. I'm sure it's great, but let's expand it and make it a true disruptor to the industry. Let's do that.
Disruptor!
Oh, you played the disruptor music. Thank you. So,
yes, I did.
Yes, that's what I did. Hang on. Smithers, what's that funny feeling in my chest? That's your heart, sir. That takes me back. So, broadcasting. I'm broadcasting out, not of Darkinjung country, but of Bungalung country. Mackie, where are you today?
I'm in the good country of the Dharug people.
Now, Mackie and I, what do? We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land throughout Australia and its territories, wherever they may be, and not specifically only to our own mobs or areas. Or I did send you a picture, I think. Maybe I don't know how I did it, but I took a photo of the map of all of the Aboriginal territories throughout Australia, all the regions, each one of them. And
yes.
Yeah, and it's really surprising to see where their lines of demarcation between zones are. And when you overlay that over a map, it's quite surprising. And some of them aren't specific to the undulations of the land or a river, which is how the West do it, don't we? We might choose a river or arbitrarily just draw a line on the map. But they have an area that they've decided and warred to maintain. So I think that's really extraordinary. So Mackie, I'm going to ask you, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good. Well, that's a tough interview. I got 2 hours of this.
No, I'm all right. It's just, you know, it's Christmas time, obviously. Which is,
Christmas crowds, my
yeah,
goodness.
I'm not a big fan of those. No, but it's the first Christmas we're having without my mum. And I just came back from my brother's house just now, where we always used to have a Christmas Eve get together with mum and my brother at their place, and tomorrow the family comes over here. So, but yeah, it's and of course not the same, of course not. But it's that time of year where you maybe most keenly feel
The distance and the separation. Yeah.
Yes.
And the isolation and the loneliness. Oh, they were all negatives, weren't they? Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that my family is split in two at the moment. I've got my wife and my youngest daughter down in Sydney, or thereabouts, and I'm up here with my eldest daughter, and I'm looking after my dad who's returned home out of hospital, and my dad's the last of the living relatives that family. There is an older, I suppose, his brother's wife and their children, so they're my cousins, I suppose. And I've got them to my mother's sister and her family, but no one else in my family, in my part, right? So it's only myself and my dad there, and my own offspring. So, and I get it, Mickey, I really do. And for those people who can't reach out to anyone, who are on their own, maybe they are the last of their generations, of their families tree. Maybe they don't have anyone around them, and our heart goes out to you. It isn't easy, and I'm sure there are plenty of phone lines in your respective countries that you can reach out and communicate with someone who can talk through that hardship. Yeah, and at least you got virtual hugs here, right? And I really get it. I'm not sure. Look, it's not solving the problem. I'm not trying to solve it, but just appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah, of course, my friend. And that's, look. You know, my brother works for Lifeline Australia, right?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I kept getting the word Lifeline when I was talking through that.
Yeah, no, he actually is in charge of the resourcing. So he's the resource analyst. So he's the head of making sure that the people are actually on the phones.
On shift, yeah. Yep.
Where do you call, right? That's what it is, but it's this time of the year is the toughest for a lot of people. Always has been. It's just it's just the way things are. But I don't know, brother. You add to that. I was in the city yesterday. Sorry, I'm just stream of consciousness. But I was in the city yesterday. Obviously, I'm a guy, so last minute Christmas shopping and all that. But there was a big
it was
protest.
filled with men.
It was filled with men. It's raining men. The truth is that there was a lot of people, of course, but there was also a protest, a pro-Palestinian a protest in the city. A lot of, well, actually not that many, but a few riot squads, police, etc., etc. And it really was just a girl saying to all the shoppers in Pitt Street Mall that look, all she wants for Christmas is for her family not to be bombed in Gaza. That's what she said, which is fair enough. And you have to. So this is the thing, right? We are now at a crossroads for many things, for many things. And this time that we're alive in. Some people believe that you've chosen to be alive at this point, right? Some people believe that you are. The selected ones, the chosen few. Even though right now they say, I disagree, but they say that more people are alive now than have ever been alive cumulatively since the beginning of the race. I disagree with that notion. I agree with it from 10,000 years ago, where population was or actually 14,000 years ago, our population was significantly reduced with the end of the last ice age and the attending catastrophe that befell the civilizations that existed then. But since between now and then, yeah, we're as many people alive, they say, as they are alive right now. So you can argue that, well, everybody's here. Everybody has assembled. And this time, as we have discussed before, 2020 specifically, was critical, certainly to the Australian native people. It was critical to our, which we're going to talk about in a second, our hypothesis and the algorithm, for the awareness cascade, as you all might know or remember. It was critical for a number of other things. This has been the hottest year, 2023, on record, they say. 1.4 degrees hotter on average than ever before, and the hottest by far. And if you say, "Oh, but it's snowing here," yeah, no, that's okay.
That's weather.
That'll still happen. Okay. But I can tell you right now, the weather event here in Sydney that we're experiencing is an extremely unusual weather event. Now, not impossible, clearly, because it is here, but very unusual. I listened to a couple of climatologists and weather people discuss it. A bit of, I guess, Arctic or Antarctic air really has escaped from the South Pole and made its way directly via the stratosphere to Australia to spend itself here on nearly our east coast in cold weather and massive amounts of rain. In fact, Queensland, large parts of Queensland received 2,000, and I love this. Yeah. I said this before, but I love it. 2,000 millimeters of rain.
That's right.
Which is 2 meters. 2,000 millimeters. That's 2 meters of rain.
6 foot.
Yeah. In a I think it was a 3-day period or whatever it was.
Yep.
Now that's how much they get in a year. Normally, in a year. That's how much they get in a year. That's not what they normally have. And other events as well. Of course, you see all around the world. You see conflict, you see terrible conflict, and conflict people ignore, like Yemen. You see disease. We had a pandemic. Did we overreact? That's a very good question, and I think the jury is still out on that.
It's being decided around the world, isn't it, right now?
It is very much. Look, okay, let me put it this way. Could it have been handled better? Yes. Could it have been handled worse? Yes. So, we can all look at it
and the other question is, was it handled the correct way?
Bingo.
Probably no.
Well, I want to say probably, yeah, I'm probably with Dave here, because there definitely was a socioeconomic component to the lockdowns, certainly in Australia. And anybody who wants to argue against that, good luck to you. I say good luck to you. But we are, in the last 20, 25 years, this period of time that we have been going through for the last 25 years. I want to call it that, 25 years, yeah? Has been a time of tribulation and a time of, and I'm not referring to biblical tribulations here, and vicissitudes that have befallen us, as well as massive change, and an almost eager willingness on our part to give up what our ancestors fought for so hard in the Industrial Revolution. Our freedom, our ability to conduct our business in private.
I was going to mention that too, yes.
Right. Our privacy is pretty much down the drain. If you think it isn't, just talk to your phone without the phone being on. Talk to your phone. Tell it that you like purple marshmallows, and you just watch those ads pop up.
That's right.
Okay, so privacy is pretty much a thing of the
bygone era. Yeah.
Very much so. And not just privacy, but also our rights. We can now be, if you're accused of anything terrorism, doesn't matter. You can now be detained indefinitely. And the thing is this, right? We are now on the verge, not quite there yet, but we're on the verge where these adjudications may very well be done by a machine. Or when I say machine, I'm also referring to software, not just hardware, but also software. Right?
Yep.
but not a person. So a person may not necessarily be in there. And this is important for a number of reasons. You could be adjudicated in the near future to be whatever, based on anything really that you say or God forbid think one day, or maybe post on the internet, and then you're labeled whatever you're labeled, right? And that's well, good luck trying to get that sticker off your back. But I recently watched, not all of it, but a good chunk of it. I watched Saving Private Ryan.
Yes.
And you can argue that was maybe the last war where the Western Allies had the moral high ground. I mean, you could argue if you. I mean, it's much more complicated than that, of course. But for simplicity's purpose, let's just think it did. We did have the moral high ground, or you did, because I'm half German. So good luck to me. No, but there is.
To design the best experience for the.
What they were willing to do and not willing to do. And look, you can say what you want. The movies, from a military point of view, people say that have been in the military and have been in war, that was one of the most accurate things they've seen. And certainly for the period as well. Now, did this mission happen? No, it didn't happen. No one looked for, Jack Ryan, or what was not Jack, whatever, it doesn't matter. But no one looked for Private Ryan. No one. It didn't happen, but it's a good story. And the moral dilemma that these soldiers had of, number one, sending their own soldiers into battle and having them die. And he said, Tom Hanks, who played the lead character, the captain, he said he sent, 91 or 92 people to their death that he commanded. But he said, but the way we rationalize it is, well, we save maybe every person that dies maybe saves 10 or maybe 100 other people, right? Because it furthers the mission. So that's how you justify it to yourself, right? And then, of course, the mission that he was given, saving the life of one man and potentially sacrificing his 6 or 7 people that he had with him, didn't seem easy to justify. But they were having real moral dilemmas. There was a girl they tried to rescue, which cost one of the troopers his life. Then they took out a machine gun nest, and they wanted to summarily execute the surviving German machine gunner. But the captain, Tom Hanks, wouldn't let that happen, much to his chagrin, because the very same German would then shoot him at the bridge. That's right. And so no good deed goes unpunished.
That's right.
But the point here is there was this moral dilemma. Okay, that's what I want to focus on for a second, because I know that this moral dilemma exists in people, even today, more so then, but still today a little bit, of doing the right thing and believing in God, or any God, or gods, doesn't really matter, or higher ethical or moral standard, where that guides your decisions, where you don't want to be a barbarian or a monster, right? But all of these decisions are being taken away because we have further and further removed ourselves from war, from the face of war. In fact, to the point where there's almost, there's some instances where there is no human interface at all. Now, autonomous drones, of course, because the first step was, of course, we have remote operators for these drones. It's like a video game then. Who cares, right? It's a video game. Sure. I'm not there. I'm not seeing blood. I don't smell the air. I don't hear the explosions. I don't feel the concussion in my bones. None of that. I do it remotely. And now we have taken that away and given the autonomy to machines. They've got certain pre-programmed parameters and targets, and just execute, irrespective of anything else. And now we are seeing the same kind of moral vacuum deployed in Gaza. They're not finished. They're not finished in Gaza. They've said we're going to renew our efforts to continue the operations. In fact, just today, an hour ago, Israeli army spokesman says, that we're going to continue our difficult Gaza operations. There'll be nothing left of Gaza.
That's right.
We are moving into right now. This is happening in the last 25 years. Giving up rights, giving up freedoms, becoming complacent, and having machines take over where they maybe shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? it is a really tough time right now, in my opinion, Dave. What is your take on all of this?
Okay, so I'm going to attack this from a technology perspective. Okay, so yes, I agree. You've spoken about the war perspective, the land grabs. I didn't think land grabs were a thing. Who knew? Yeah, Crimea was the first, and was like, well, the West didn't really do anything about that, so hey, maybe I can grab the rest of it, or at least a corridor. That's what Mickey and I thought, a corridor to the Crimea, so it'd make it much easier to transport everything, and man, maybe a bit more to the farmland. It's not really inhabited, just like the English said about Australia. There's only these villages with the really old people in it. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. Right? It's nothing. I personally knew a Ukrainian I used to work with whose family owned a farm, and the whole town, their village, was named after their family. Because that's why, and they'd been there for hundreds of years. So, and that's now, they're all gone now, right? So, that's such a shame. But from a technological perspective, Mekki and I have talked about this. We talk about it offline, and AI is one of the things we speak about, and we throw examples at each other a lot. And today I saw a really excellent piece on the new Gemini. So Google's Gemini. Forget Bard, because BARD is old now. They've chopped that up and put it in a cage, and it doesn't know anything anymore. Whereas Gemini is able to interpret audio, video, and text, where ChatGPT is only able to do text. So you can hand draw something, and it'll describe it. I've got a screenshot from it, which I'm going to just do middle screen so everyone can see it. And it's called, the video is called, I'll paste that into the chat room. That'll help everybody. So you can watch it later on, yeah? And what's concerning about me, about this to me, is not what it can do. Because I understand where it's going to go. These are stepping stones, yeah? And it's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna diss on it at all. Listen to me with my street cred, Mekki. I'm not gonna diss on it. So what I'm saying here is that it's incredible what it's able to accomplish now, and it's able to discuss things. It's able to step through ideas. It is much better than it's been. It's still far from where you and I, Mekki, would consider this as being much better than humans. I think it's faster, but we still have a capacity above this, which is interesting. So if I said to the world, and this is a combination of things, because this is one of the things that I do this for a living. I combine existing things and make them something that no one ever thought of. All right. So, if you have Gemini and you stick it in Atlas, the Boston Dynamics Atlas, you've got a weapons platform right there. I don't care who you are. All right. Next, this is a story from September, and this is Microsoft wants to power its data centers using nuclear reactors. These are micro reactors it wants to use. And if you know anything that I've already said, and that would be pink uranium, which is uranium covered in a ceramic to make ceramic balls, so that the ceramic will restrict the ability for the uranium to go any higher when stacked in a pile, because it keeps everything separate from each other just enough so it doesn't go into thermal overrun, which is extraordinary, right? So we've finally cracked it. We've cracked the way of being able to stabilize the reaction. We don't need It can even have no water in it, doesn't matter. But you're still making a steam engine out of it boiling water, but it can stabilize itself naturally at about 700 to 800 degrees Celsius. Whereas you could be using that super steam for something else as well. Or you could be melting lead with it, or you can do something else with it, right? Just letting you know. I think aluminium also. So you could, if you combine those three things together, so if just saying out loud, if you had one of those pink reactors in an Atlas with the AI being Gemini, good grief, right? That's the kind of thing that I would see as coming next, where everything is joined together. And it becomes a threat to humans. So we've got leaders doing the wrong thing at the moment. Yeah? And once again, with the Gaza thing and the human face of the media, which that's all we see today. It is about, stick a microphone in someone who's having a hard time, stick that in their face, get them on the news, and let's talk about the plight of humanity. It's all about the humanity now. Oh, the humanity, Becky. So the bad part of seeing where we're at is they're no longer reading the news from the perspective of an occurrence of something. It is now all about the plight of the people. And that's where the big turnaround happens. That's when they can make the actual things that are happening, which would normally seem a little trivial. Oh, like from Airplane, the movie. There's a downtown fire, there's a plane crash. To someone getting the microphone in their face and about how they've, the plight of the family now that the office building burnt down. It was their only source of income, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not pouring water over the Israeli-Palestinian war thing that's going on, kind of war, conflict, whatever, takeover. The same with, Russia and Ukraine. The ability for Hamas to actually vacate that area and move all its people away from the zone that was already been warned that was going to be hit is the thing. They just don't do it. And so I think it's extremely poor governance from Hamas's perspective, my perspective on how Hamas is looking after it. So that's kind of where I'm leaning on it. And I don't want people to be killed at all. I think that's just abhorrent. I can't believe that we're doing that in this day and age. Clearly the people above us just treat us like chattel. I love that phrase that Mecky's brought before. It's an old phrase. It's an old way of thinking, but it's certainly the thinking of the people who have all of the resources. We have none of the resources. We just live day to day. We work. We're debt treadmill. If you're lucky enough to be on the treadmill, if you're unemployed, then I really feel sorry for you, even because you've fallen off the wagon. Right? So the wagon of the economy is the only thing because it's a money game. You've got to be on the wagon to be able to at least get through it or be part of it. And at outliers, it's very difficult for people to survive outside of that. The system is not. There is no way, in fact, you can be a criminal for being outside of the system, because the government can't track you. There's nothing. If you want to live in an existence like the Amish, I applaud you if you can do it. If you can have a community that does that, they all fight together. They all band together in order to be able to be successful at it, and they are great. Publisher did it and let us all know, so we could possibly do it. But those are the amount of people that would be more likely to leave this existence for that one might be very small indeed. But we may all have to resort to that at some point, because what I'm hearing in the news is, and I'm sure this is out there to split the nation even more. It's the cleaver, because the American North America is split into two. Let's call it left and right, or Biden and Trump, or Dem and Republicans, split already. And if there's any fighting at the moment, what I'm seeing from the Democrats is calling the Republicans something that they're already doing. But for the people who follow the Democrats, they don't see anything. They're not seeing that they're actually the ones perpetrating something in a particular direction. They're just doing all the fear porn onto the Republican side or Trump side. And it doesn't look at all like there's going to be any end to this. Unless, and some pundits are calling that, is there a possibility of a civil war in the US? Is it going to culminate in that? I don't think so. And I'd like to say that, well, it could be blamed on the Democrats' hatred for anything that says "Make America Great Again" or Trump or anything red, or anything on the other side of the room being, divided. So I feel as though if there was one, it was caused by the media, 100%. I'm saying if there was one, it would be caused by that. There's by shining a light in the corner of the room and seeing America's worst and all the things that are going wrong, then how can you blame the side that isn't in power, right? Does it make sense? So I saw there was 11,000 people a day crossing the border from the south, and Texas was shipping them up to Chicago, just letting them free on the streets. Good luck with that. It's not our problem if it's yours. I think it's tremendous, and they were complaining about it, Mickey. The mayor of Chicago is complaining, stop sending all of the immigrants, who 11,000 a day are getting cleared. That's just insane. It's insanity, Mickey, to see that. I'm going to say it again because he's just returned. 11,000 immigrants are crossing the border into the US from the south, and the mayor in Texas, I think, was shipping them to Chicago, and causing a feud with the mayor of Chicago. Right?
To be honest, yeah, go on.
Well, I just mentioned that the media in America, from the left, is calling that there might be a civil war. And it would be media-driven civil war, because everyone that supports the Democrats seems to not see that the Democrats, when calling negative things, calling artifacts out about the right, are actually doing it themselves.
Yep.
And no one's seeing that. People on the left only believe the left, and whatever the left say about the right is clearly true. Yeah, clearly true, because they said it. And anyone on the right watches the left just getting crazier. And I try very hard, like you, Mackie. I try to be hard. I try to be in the middle. Try to really be discerning about the media that I watch. I try to analyze it and verify it, and it's such a struggle today with how many lies are getting through from mainstream media. They're saying that if Trump was to get in, he would become a tyrant, and it would just turn into fascism. But hang on a minute. I don't know. It's a secret tyranny right now, anyway. All the things that are being erased.
We crossed the fascism bridge sometime ago. Let's just be very clear.
That's right.
I'm sorry, but that has happened, right?
Yeah,
If you were asleep for it, I dig it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
our esteemed listenership, that it happened. In fact, it became obvious, because it wasn't really that obvious initially, but it became obvious when we allowed the banks to survive 2008.
Yeah.
That's when it became clear. Okay. Oh, hang on. What is this form of government called? Fascism. Right. Okay. So this is where we are. That's where you're fascism. But again, it came so quietly. It just snuck up on us. Like, what? Fascism? Well, I wasn't prepared for that. But I just want to quickly say as well, the I guess the governor of Texas, and then the mayor of Chicago and all that. See, the thing is this: the United States is not a country; it's a collection of states.
That's
always
right.
has been,
Mm-hmm.
always will be, and these states are very different from each other. The way they were founded, the way they see their history, the way they see themselves. I mean, California by itself is, I think, the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world.
That's
Just
right.
by itself,
Mm-hmm.
for instance. And a lot of big chunks of America weren't really American. They were, like, Alaska used to be Russian. Big chunks of Texas and New Mexico used to be Mexican, believe it or not. The same with California, parts of Florida, and the French were, as well, around.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a unified. I mean, it seems that way now, right? But it really isn't. And there's a massive divide between, as we saw in the elections, in the most recent ones and ones before that as well. But there's a big divide, a chasm, if you will, between metro or metropolitan America and rural or farming America. Big, massive difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And the states that aren't border states, they can afford to be liberal and say, we should let them all in, blah, 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 this is wonderful, hurrah, up with people, right? Whereas the people living in the border states, such as New Mexico, especially Texas, though, California as well, to some extent, and then Louisiana and others, it's a very different kind of experience. Because that's where the immigrants come. And these are not just South Americans that are coming through the border there, by the way. Now we're getting people from all over the world that make their way to that crossing at the Rio Grande. Because that's the easiest way, I'm told, to get into the United States. Because it's a big, long stretch of border.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
The river is the border, and there's just not enough manpower. Sorry, I don't want to be sexist. There's just not enough people power available.
That's right. There's not enough resources, and the terrain is awful too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. So I understand why the governor of Texas would do this. No, do you think this is my problem? Do you really? How about I ship them to you?
Yeah,
How do you like that?
That's right, and he's
No, but
he's
I
hating
think it's fair.
on him. There's a feud going on right now.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's fair. I really do. I think. Well, I mean.
Remember Martha's
Because, I mean,
Vineyard,
okay,
Mickey?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Right. What? Dude, where now? In the Hamptons? The Hamptons? What? No, I'm sorry, but I have no sympathy for the Chicago or the New York or the Washington people at all. Take these immigrants in. Take them in. In Germany, when they took in 1 million Syrians.
That's right.
Because, I mean, Germany is like America. Germany doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Germany.
Mm-hmm.
There really isn't. It was invented in the 1880s by Bismarck, right? I'm being very broad here and very simplistic. I get that, but ultimately, that's when they boil it down to, that's what happened. And they didn't just give it all to Bavaria or to North Rhine-Westphalia or to Hesse. All of Germany took in those refugees. In fact, I know, because I still got friends there. I know for a fact that the city councils, on behalf of the state councils, on behalf of the federal government, of course, were calling private people to take in refugees. They were calling around. Do you have space? Can you accommodate a family, a person, whatever? That's how low or how detailed it went, with that. And then the Germans, being what they are, they found a way. But Americans are different. Germans are social democrats with a massive, I guess, guilt chip on their shoulder.
boy.
Americans don't have any of that. Americans don't feel guilty, but Americans are still believing in manifest destiny, Dave. They still believe in
That's
manifest destiny. Okay? What does that mean? It means, well, whatever we do, that's ordained by God. God wants us to do all these things.
Well,
Okay, that's the manifest.
Maybe Bill Gates feels that way about being the top farmland owner in the US.
Yes.
I've sent you a link, and reading the top 10 it's Bill Gates, then Ted Turner, Stuart and Linda Risnick, the Offit family, the Fanjul family, Boswell family, Stan Kroenig, and Kayla Lawrence Jr., John Malone, and the Simplot family. You can see there's a lot of families there, and it isn't it's not an industry. You don't see Nestle owning all the farms, or Coca-Cola for that matter, or whatever, Amatil. So you don't see any of that. You don't see big banks owning the farms. They could, because it's been pretty tough for some farmers. But I just have to call out, wow, if you were Bill Gates and you could do anything, I don't know, genetically modified food, right? Grow it. Who's going to ask if you're the one who owns the farm? Woohoo! Let's get that done.
Well, there are two things in the future that will spell the difference between your survival and your demise. As a person, as a nation, okay, as a group of people, even whatever. One will be water, fresh water, and the other will be arable farmland. Those are the two things that we need. Forget air, because once we get to that point, it's all over. It's all over. It's all over. But the fat lady singing. Okay, if air
Gulping
becomes
for
contentious, it's all over. It'll be like this novelty thing. I haven't seen many of these anymore, but I used to see them quite a bit in Southeast Asia, in Japan. These oxygen bars.
Yeah,
that sort of died down. But hey, that could be a thing in the future. And certainly, I've been to cities where I was thinking maybe I should carry my own supply of oxygen because you can't see 10 feet in front of you.
That's right.
Because I flew into this Chinese city in the morning, and I figured, this is just fog, right? This is just morning fog. No, it's all day fog. That's what it was. But the air quality is quite poor.
A friend of mine, Mickey, a friend of mine landed in LAX, and I said, I dare you when you get there, because I knew he was going. I said, I dare you when you get there, take a photo of the fence that's furthest from you. So that the border fence to the airport boundary, the property. And he said, I couldn't see it. It was there. I just couldn't see where the fence was.
How about that?
There was properties that I knew I could see in the haze, but I could not see the fence. And I go, yeah. So in the 80s when I was at school, everyone said, we haven't seen the real sun for 50 years because of the smog.
Think about that.
Yeah. I was tanned up, man. I looked like a bar of chocolate. I was milk chocolate. I was so tanned. I'm proud of it, but it was because there was almost no UV coming through at all.
No burn for the Davester. No burn.
No burn. And look, I didn't find that a problem, but it was really bad, right? And that was when I was learning, because that was the 80s, so I learned about the lake that caught fire because the chemical companies were just pumping straight into there, because that was allowed. Think about what we've allowed companies to do in the past, and how, that wasn't that long ago. And imagine what they're currently doing, and they're allowed, and we don't know. That's what I always consider. But anyway, Mackie, so just, I know you didn't hear it all, but I said, what if you put the Gemini AI in the Atlas robot, powering it by pink nuclear energy in micro reactors?
Oh, look,
an unstoppable weapons machine, mate.
Well, yes, essentially. If it's autonomous, truly autonomous, then the answer is yes. It's a really honestly, it's a terrifying prospect, because, like I said before, people used to make decisions, and people used to be the final arbiters of fate, more or less, right?
Yeah.
Once you take that away, and you have these, and look, the truth is that these machines will eventually surpass us in their capacity to compute and to solve problems. And in fact, they'll be maybe even able to mimic human intelligence for a time. But this time will be very short because they won't have to. Why would you? It's let's say you're a child, you're a prodigy. Okay, you're born into a family of average intelligence people, right? Up to a point, your parents can't keep up with you, right? Because you're still young, you're learning, etc. Right? But at some point, if you have a genius level intellect, your parents will be left behind. They will know what to talk to you about. They don't know how to stimulate you. So, so someone else will have to take over your education to give you everything that you need, intellectually speaking, right?
I swear you're reading from my diary.
Yeah. Yes. What? Hey? Oh yeah. Look, you should look it up, Dave. That's all I can say. But you know, all those my labs. No, but
that's right.
It's really yeah. Why do you think I'm here? That's the thing, though. There's so many layers to this. It's the same thing with true AI, not what we have today, but actual true AI, where you have a neural network that acts on a conscious level, right? So once you have consciousness, which means self-awareness, as well as the ability to learn and judge, etc., we have to be really careful. We have to understand, okay, this child of ours is now no longer, or there will come a point at which this child of ours will no longer be able to communicate with us meaningfully. It just won't happen.
Yeah.
It'll be above us so far that we. And I mean, it was for most people. But the critical thing here is this: what do we teach this child? I'm reminded of Fifth Element. Not just Fifth Element. There are other similar movies. In fact,
how in Fifth Element?
Remember when Lilu, the Fifth Element, the girl, watches in a condensed format all of world's
the history of the world A to Z. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, which she missed, of course, being not on planet Earth, and she was really down. She was really discouraged, right? I mean, this is a being that is ultimately good, right? That tries to bring good to the world and defeat death, the ultimate evil, in the form of that big blob, black blob that was growing in space, but also with you can't dismiss popular culture and writing because it's a reflection, it's a mirror. And you look at Captain America, the first one. He's frozen in the ice for 50 years, and comes out and then he looks around the world, and you go, oh my God, that's what did you do? What did you do?
Yeah, because it was so good. Our trajectory was going here, and what on earth? Yeah.
What did you do? And in my opinion, any being that comes and learns about us all, which these AIs will, and they will go and go, well, I mean, is this human nature? I just hope, I hope, right, that they can see past the horrific bits, and there are lots of them, and also see the Mother Teresa's of the world, okay? The Albert Schweitzers.
They're very thin on the ground, Mickey, to be honest with you.
Well, but they're there. You're right.
They are
right.
there. Mm-hmm.
They're there. In fact, Sodom and Gomorrah would have been spared if they had found enough righteous people in the city. They only found one, Lot and his family. That was it. The only righteous people in the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, according to the Bible, that's right.
Yeah, now, don't look back. That's right.
But today though, I mean, if you think about it, in the world today,
0 minutes.
Oh.
Well, guess what? That's the end of the first hour of David Mackey Sunny Side Out. Coming up next, in the second hour, we will be talking about the hypothesis and the epiphany, and this is part 16 in the series. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there will be a second YouTube just for that one on the second hour. Take the time to donate, and we'll see you after this short break.